Yes, welcome for today's program. We are going to take you through science lesson. The topic will be soil. We are going to discuss about soil today. And our subtopic is going to be soil erosion. Before we continue, we need to know what is the meaning of soil erosion. And we have written it here on the board that soil erosion is the process by which the top fertile soil is carried away from one point to another by the agents of soil erosion. So we are going to look at the agents of soil erosion. For the topsoil to be carried from one point to another, like from the farm to where it is not required, there are those things that will make it to be carried away from one point to another. Number one is water. Number two, soil can be carried away by wind. Number three, we can talk about animals. When it rains, the water droplets can cause soil erosion, or even the moving water, the water that is flowing, the floods. When it is flowing, the soil can be carried from one point to another. When we look at wind, during a windy day, the top soil, the top fertile soil can be carried from one point to another, majorly on bare grounds. If you go to the desert regions where there is no vegetation cover. When we talk about animals, for instance, I being one of the animals, but a special animal, when I'm walking on the road, my shoes can carry the topsoil from one point to another. So that one is also going to cause this soil erosion. Now, let us look at types of soil erosion. We have got different types of soil erosion. The first one here is sheet erosion. Sheet erosion. Number two, we talk of gully erosion. Number three, we talk of rail erosion. Number four, we talk of splash erosion. We have got four types of soil erosion. We have got sheet erosion, the gully erosion, rail erosion, and lastly, we have got the splash erosion. We are going to discuss these four types of soil erosion one after the other. So we are going to begin with the first one here, which is called sheet erosion. Sheet erosion. This type of soil erosion is majorly caused by wind. The main cause of this type of soil erosion is wind. So we say mainly caused by wind. It occurs unnoticed. It normally takes place unnoticed because the topsoil is carried away in uniform layer. So it will be very hard for us to notice it. The topsoil is carried away in uniform layer. When the wind blows, it carries away the topsoil in uniform layer in a sheet form. that is very difficult to notice. This sheet erosion is also known, another name of sheet erosion. It is called landslide. Another name of sheet erosion is landslide. So if you are asked in examination what is another name of sheet erosion, you must know that the name is landslide. If they ask you the main cause of sheet erosion is wind, those are some of the key areas that they will test in examination. What are the main cause of sheet erosion? Where does it occur majorly? It occurs in bare land with no vegetation cover, land with no grass, no plantation. That is majorly where it occurs. In our nation here, it majorly occurs in the northern regions. The place is bare and the soil is exposed to the agents of soil erosion. Now, as a scientist, you need to know that these soil erosions, they will interfere with the soil structure. And when the soil structure is interfered with, the productivity of the soil will go down. So as a scientist, you will know how do we prevent this type of soil erosion? How do we prevent sheet erosion? Sheet erosion is prevented by planting of cover crops. Planting of cover crops. We ensure that we plant the trees so that our soil will be preserved for future use. That is planting of cover crops. We are always told to try and take care of our trees. They have got so many importance. So whenever we plant the cover crops, the soil is going to be conserved. So this is how we are supposed to control sheet erosion. Our soil erosion number 2 is gully erosion. Gully erosion. Gully erosion majorly occurs in steep areas, the islands, but in a gentle slope. Whenever you are walking around, if you come across a V-shaped or a deep furrow, that one indicates that there was this type of soil erosion called gully erosion. If you see some holes when you are walking, that one is a sign that gully erosion has taken place there. So what will help us to identify this type of soil erosion is, number 1 is characterized by deep V-shaped or U-shaped channels called gullies. The channels are called gullies. So whenever you see a V-shaped or a U-shaped channel, they are very deep. That one is a sign that there is gully erosion that has occurred in that region. Now, after noticing this, that there is this type of soil erosion taking place in your farm, we must know how to prevent it, how we can control it. So we are going to look on ways on how we can prevent gully erosion. When we have gully erosion, we can prevent it by building gabions. Prevented by building gabions. These gabions are also called check dams or porous dams. When we build these gabions, they are going to help us to prevent the soil particles from being carried away. The gabions will allow water to pass through them, but they prevent the soil particles from being carried away. This is how the gabions looks like. We know
Where is the black?
is it here?
So be careful. Huh?
Battery is a problem.
Be careful. Huh?
So when you are building a gabion, what you require is a wire mesh and stones. We will place the stones and then we wrap them with the wire mesh. This one will always enable water to pass through while it will block the soil particles from passing through it. Eventually, the gully erosion will be controlled because the soil particles which are going to be blocked here will cover the gap that had already been left hanging. So this is how we build the gabions. These ones are just stones and we use a wire mesh. So when you are walking and you see this type of a structure, a diagram, let me use a V-shaped gully, and this side let me use a U-shaped gully, assuming this is our land, and you see this, this indicates that there was a gully erosion taking place here. You can see the V-shaped and the U-shaped gully. This is the U-shaped, these are the gully. This channel here indicates that there was gully erosion taking place on the land, either if it is a V-shaped or a U-shaped. So when you want to control this type of soil erosion, I had earlier on said that we build this. This one is called check dam or porous dam or the gabions. We build it across here. So eventually the gap, this channel that had already been eroded, it will be reoccupied by soil particles, and eventually we are going to control the gully erosion. Let us go to real erosion. Real erosion. Real erosion is characterized by small channels on the ground. These small channels are called rills. When you see some small channels on the ground, this one is a sign of a rill erosion. It occurs on a steep slope. So whenever you see the small channels that we call rills, that one indicates that this type of soil erosion has occurred in that soil. So whenever you see them, you must know that that one is rill erosion. Now, how do we control this type of soil erosion? Assuming it has occurred in your land and you are a farmer who wants to conserve the soil, what do you do? Or you will just leave it like that? This is what you are going to do as a patriot who cares for the land and a farmer who wants the land to remain productive. This is how you are going to control rill erosion. Ways of controlling rill erosion. If you go to the highland regions, you will be able to see this type of soil erosion. Majorly if you go to Kisii Highlands, Mount Kenya, or any other region which we have the mountains and the hills, you will be able to see that type of soil erosion there. So when you want to control rill erosion, we do what is called building of terraces. Building of terraces. These terraces will slow down the movement of water. Assuming this is the highland I'm talking about, and we want to reduce the gradient of the island, what do? We are going to build the terraces on this island so that the movement here, the terraces always looks like stairs. The staircase. These ones are going to be our terraces. And on the terraces you can plant napier grass to help you to reduce this type of soil erosion. These ones are the terraces. Look at it. You will see that you are trying to cut the gradient of the slope. This one will make the water runoff at speed. Hence, we are going to reduce the occurrence of rill erosion. So on these trenches here, if you look at it, these stairs, somebody can come up with the idea and plant maybe a napier grass. You can plant some napier grass here. We are going to utilize this our land. Land, crops here. Plant napier grass, which so that is a terrace. When you cut the slopes into stairs in this form, these are what we call terraces. Now, as a farmer, you can use this space to plant some trees. And finally, the rate, the speed of water on this slope of the land will be reduced, and we will help to control the real erosion. Let me show you the real erosion in diagram, how it looks like. When you see it somewhere, you can be able to identify that this is real erosion, how it looks like in diagram. Because even in examination, they can help us to identify the type of soil erosion, and you also tell us how that type of soil erosion is controlled. Assuming this is our land here, assuming this is our land, assuming what I have sketched here is the land, this is now your land. And when you're walking on this land, you see some small channels moving up, from up downwards like this, a small channel like this, other small channel. I had said these small channels are called rails. And at the end of the channel, you will find some young soil here, particles, very fertile. This soil which has been disposed here, the one which has been deposited at this place is very fertile because the top fertile soil has been eroded from this point here to down apart. These small channels are known as rails. They indicate the occurrence of a rail erosion on the land. So whenever you see these small channels, be aware that this one is a rail erosion taking place on your farm. And as a good farmer, kindly, you try and build these terraces so that you can control this type of soil erosion. Our last type of soil erosion was splash erosion. The last one was splash erosion. Splash erosion. From the word splashing, somebody can say you've splashed water on me. To splash. So when it is raining and when you are keen, you look at the floor on the ground outside, you will be able to see some small holes on the floor. When you see those small holes, that means that the splash erosion has occurred, has taken place, because it is caused by raindrops. So we will say that it is characterized by small holes. There is a difference between small holes and small channels. So don't confuse the two. The real erosion is small channels, but the splash erosion is the small holes on the floor. So you must know the difference. Now, when you see these small holes on the floor, that means that it was raining. Water that was splashing has managed to dislocate some soil particle from one point to another. And that is what we say soil erosion, from one place to another. We are not considering the distance. So when you see that, you must know that there was soil erosion that has occurred. That is splash. When it is raining and you have sheltered next to the soil, assuming that you are in the veranda, you will realize that your shoes will be containing some soil particles. How did this soil particle move to your shoes? Because of the raindrops. The soil particles are moving from one point to another. Now, how do you control it? How do we control this type of soil erosion? How do you control it? Because all types of soil erosion will interfere with our soil structure and fertility. Prevention. Of splash erosion. How do you prevent it? We prevent it by mulching. We prevent this by mulching. And remember, we have got types of mulches. There is the organic mulches, whereby we use the dry grass or tree parts. And there is inorganic mulches where people use the polythene paper. When you go to the greenhouse, you will see people using the inorganic mulches. So majorly we encourage you to use the organic mulches because they will also decompose and improve the soil fertility. They are the ones which are recommended. So we control the splash erosion by mulching. This is how it looks like in diagram. When the raindrops comes from the sky, they will come and knock the ground. Eventually they will be displacing the soil particles. And here will remain as a small hole on the ground. So this is how it looks like in terms of diagram. So wherever you see this in examination and they ask you to identify, know that this one is a splash erosion. We can see the soil particles are being splashed away from this point to the other places. So this one is how it looks like in diagram. Last but not least, I want us to look at some of the things that will increase the rate of soil erosion. And that one will be the end of our lesson after that. How? We have looked on how we can prevent and reduce. But what are some of the things that increase the soil erosion? Factors that increase the rate of soil erosion. Factors that increase the rate of soil erosion. There are some factors that will lead to increase of this soil erosion, either by making it to happen very fast. So factor number one is what we call the topography of the land, how the land looks like. So there we talk of the slope of the land, the slope of the land. When you go on a steep slope and a gentle slope, in which slope do you think the rate of soil erosion is high? For example, you want to go on a steep slope and you come back and somebody is going to a gentle slope. In which slope do you think the rate of soil erosion is going to be high? So whoever is in a steep slope, on a steep slope, the rate of soil erosion is higher than on a gentle slope. So the slope of the land will increase. The steeper the slope, the higher the rate of soil erosion. And the gentle the slope, the lower the rate of soil erosion. Number 2 here, we talk about the soil cover. Soil cover, that is vegetation. If the land is bare, the rate of soil erosion on that land is very high as compared to a land which has got the trees. If you compare the two places, the desert and the forest, where does this rate of soil erosion is high, you will realize that it's in the desert because there is no soil cover on the desert. But in the forest, you will realize that the trees will hold the soil particle together, that is using their roots, and again they will act as a windbreaker. When there is a strong wind, the soil particles in the forest will not be carried away as compared to the rate at which the soil particles are being carried away in the desert, because the trees are acting as a windbreaker. Again, their roots will also help to hold the soil particles together. So in case of even the running water, the soil particles will stick together and they won't be carried away. Number 3, we are going to talk about the type of soil. The type of soil which is compacted together. You know, we normally say unity is strength, utengano ni udhaifu. If you compare the soil particles of the sandy soil and that of the clay soil, between the two, which ones are compacted together, you will realize that the sandy soils are loosely packed as compared to the clay soil. So in case of any wind, in case of any running water, the ones which are not compacted, they will be easily carried away as compared to the ones which are compacted together. So we talk of the type of soil. The type of soil. Number 4, we will look at human activities. Human activities. As a human being, what do you do that will cause or increase the rate at which soil erosion occurs? Our activities, day-to-day activities, what do you do that you think will increase soil erosion? Because we need to be responsible. We were created by Allah to take care of the world and to take care of the creation. And trees are also part of the creation. So what do you do as a human being? What do you think you do that will increase the rate of this soil erosion in our environment? Number 1, there is what we call deforestation. People are cutting down trees. So we're talking about overstocking.
These two, they are not very better.
Oh, they're not clear, so I can rewrite. The slope of the land soil cover. That is the vegetation. So I was at human activities, what human being does that will increase the rate of soil erosion. Deforestation, I've said the cutting down of trees without replacing them. Remember, we are always required when you cut one, you plant two, but we don't obey that rule. Number two, there is overstocking. Keeping large number of livestock in a small piece of land. They will eat all the vegetation cover. There is overgrazing. Overgrazing. You take your animals to the field to eat in one piece of land day in, day out, until all the soil cover is depreciated. We have got mining, road constructions, we also have cultivating. Number 6, cultivation along the slope.
Niko salama.
If this is our land, assuming it is the hill, you are not supposed to cultivate from up, down the hill. That one is along the slope. It will increase the rate. We are supposed to cultivate across the slope. If this is the hill I'm talking about, don't cultivate like this. From up, downwards. This one is wrong. We are supposed to cultivate across the slope. This one will prevent soil erosion. So cultivation along the slope is not going to help us. It will increase the rate of soil erosion. So those are some of the activities that we are doing that increases the soil erosion. We are going to end there for today, and may God bless you.